آریانا افغانستان یگانه شبکه تلویزیونی ملی افغانها در خارج از کشور.
This is the ultimate question for you. Are you ready to be your own boss and achieve your dreams? Liberty Business Advisors of San Francisco, Inc. is a full-service business consulting and brokerage firm specializing in small to medium-sized businesses. At Liberty Business Advisors, our professionals include lawyers, accountants, realtors who have years of experience in selling and marketing business opportunities. Call Business Advisors for free consultation if you're thinking about selling or planning buying a new business. Call us at 925-932-2450. Visit us on our website, lbaweb.com, or follow us on Facebook.
Grandma, we need to have a very important conversation.
About what?
About taking care of you.
You're doing just fine taking care of me.
Grandma, I love you, but this is hard to talk about.
Go ahead. You've always been good with words.
We need a conversation about your end-of-life wishes.
And you're ready to have this conversation now?
Yes, Grandma, before this game is over.
Hi, this is Ice Sly. It's never easy having a conversation about end-of-life care. However, it's a conversation you can have in any language, anywhere, anytime. Talk to your loved ones about how they want to be treated at end of life, find out how much medical treatment they prefer and when they want it to stop. Right now, Comfort Homesec is collaborating with Alameda County to conduct free monthly trainings on how to have the conversation. To register or to get more information, contact the phone number or email on your screen. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Business Advisors 101. Today is April 14, 2014. Welcome to the show.
Olive with New York Live.
Olive, as you know, what we do in the beginning of the show, we have a segment called Money Watch. So we basically go over what happened in the markets.
Yeah, we should let people know what's going on.
In today's world, correct. So, ladies and gentlemen, on a Money Watch, the market was up today across the board. The strong U.S. retail sales report give a boost to the economy and basically convinced a lot of the economists that the U.S. is actually coming out of a winter blues when we really experienced a pretty, it was a really strong, a pretty intense winter in the Northeast and the South and the Midwest that affected the economy locally. So that's why, but since the weather has improved, so the economists believe that the U.S. is actually, coming back, and the economy looks like it's going to actually, it looks much better in the second and the third and fourth quarter. In terms of the U.S. deficit, Olive, it is shrinking. As you know, our deficit was pretty much huge during the 2008 crisis when the financial crisis happened. Actually, the U.S. deficit was about $680 billion in 2013, and less than half than it was during the economic recession that we experienced since 2008. So the gap between spending and revenues has fallen in part because of more economic growth, constraint on spending, meaning that there's less spending catered towards the military and some other programs, and the changes to the tax code brought in more revenue. So that's why the deficit is shrinking. So according to the report, U.S. is supposed to the spendings are going to actually increase again in 2016 and continue to increase by 2022. But the key is that at least the spendings are going to continue to decrease till the year 2016. Let's talk about Walmart. We know Walmart is one of the biggest retailers out there, actually in the world as well. And they've had serious problems with China. So in the last 3 years, Chinese authorities have fined Walmart about $10 million.
Oh boy.
Do you know what the reason was?
You know what? I briefly remember some of the reasons.
It's okay. I'm quizzing you, but that's okay. We'll
That's
talk
why you're
about it.
here.
That's why I'm here. But the biggest problem was that Walmart was sanctioned for misleading pricing, selling poor quality products. And that's why the Chinese were not happy. So basically, like give you an example, like for instance, the font size of that was in English was much bigger than the Chinese fonts. You know, they said, well, the Chinese fonts had to be bigger than the English because you're servicing China. So also they were talking about low fat. For instance, some of the products were labeled low fat, but the nutrition facts did not meet the Chinese low fat standards. And so,
Good to know.
yeah. So as you can see, but the problem is in the U.S. and most other countries, it is usually the manufacturers that are responsible for making sure that they actually provide quality products before they sell it to the retailers. But in China, it's the opposite. It's actually not the manufacturer, but the retailer that's supposed to be responsible. But here's the key point here. So. The Chinese basically don't sanction their own local retailers for actually having so many issues, right? But they go after multinational corporations like Walmart and saying that, you know what, you did this, you're wrong, so you have to pay fines. So as you can see, there's a double standard. And so that's why some people argue, not to say that Walmart has a clean record. They've been cited for a lot of labor issues and stuff like that. And for lower wages and stuff like that. But in this area, I think in this segment or in this situation, I think you kind of feel for Walmart. They're saying, you know what, you're using a double standards, for against us, and you're not even citing your own retailers. So pretty interesting.
Are you saying that Walmart's going to increase their prices?
No, they're not going to increase their prices. But what they're saying is like, you know what? Let's allow us to do business in China, but don't sanction us for something that you're using double standards against us. So, okay, fine. We maybe we made some mistakes and stuff like that. We will fix this problem, but you also focus on your own retailers that sell cheap products or products that are supposed to be something, but then when it gets out to the public, it's not the same product. So it was very interesting when I came across it. So let's go to the next thing. I'm going to ask you another question. I think you have the answer for this one.
I hope you don't put me on the spot.
No, I don't think so. You remember what happened over a year ago in Bangladesh? They had a major crisis in one of the garment factories and in Dhaka. And basically about 1,100 people died because of this factory collapsed.
You know what? This one I'm going to say, I do remember some big corporations were involved, like Gap, Walmart, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, good job, Olive. So the whole key is that a trust fund was established for the target was about $40 million. So only 12 out of the 29 retailers that operate a factory in Bangladesh actually have offered their help, meaning they have donated something towards this fund. So the average donation is anywhere between $500,000 to $1 million. But they've only allocated about $15 million towards this fund. So 40 million and 15 million. So that means there's a bunch of retailers that have not done their job in terms of accommodating this fund. So as you can see, there's a major problem for those poor people that were victims of that garment factory crisis.
You know, it almost makes you feel guilty sometime when you go shop either at Walmart or Gap or a few other big corporations, just because, you think about all these unfair labor laws, right?
That's so true, and it's an ongoing issue when you look at countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh or China, or even in India, and anywhere. A few years ago, remember Nike was somehow cited for the shoes that they make, and these kids that were working under the age of 5, I don't know what it was, 6, 7, in a place like Pakistan, and they were only getting paid just a small amount of money.
It breaks your heart.
So, sometimes, as consumers, we come across those situations, but we don't know the true story of that, where was this manufactured, and this is the problem that sometimes is, as a consumer, you could have actually a saying where you could totally boycott that product by putting pressure on the company to say, you know what, you need to get, you need to step up, and you need to change your policies. You need to make sure that you're fair. Absolutely. It shouldn't be all about profits, but unfortunately, we're not there. So the last thing that I want to talk about on this segment, as we know, before we finish, and then we move on to our second segment, Olive. You remember, we talk a lot about the financial crisis of 2008, and it affected the whole economy and everything. And a lot of banks were fined, if you recall. A lot of banks were fined and penalized for a lot of improper activities and stuff like that.
Absolutely,
do you remember that?
I do. This one also I remember because I was affected by that. So I do remember some of the big banks. Was it Chase, Bank of America?
All
right?
of them,
Yeah.
all the big boys were involved as part of the crisis. But it's ongoing crisis because, for instance, right now, Citigroup's one of Citigroup's unit called Banamex. They're actually the Justice Department is looking into this because they're actually looking at fining Citigroup because there's about $400 million of shortage in one of the transactions that was involved with Banamex and a Mexican oil company. So this deals to the violation of kind of like almost like think of it like money laundering, and also the Bank Secrecy Act. So somehow, if it looks like Citigroup might be found guilty, and if it is, they have to pay fines. So that's why they actually came out and said that they're going to be about $235 million short of revenue. It's going to affect their revenue throughout the year. So it's not a good news for Citigroup in a sense because of this. J.P. Morgan Chase, as of a while back, they paid about almost $1.7 billion. Remember the Bernie Madoff? Do you remember that guy that started a Ponzi scheme and he was just
I don't remember.
Okay.
So
But
go
anyway,
ahead, Barbara.
so anyway, he was Bernie Madoff. Was a big, huge scandal, and he basically was a Ponzi scheme, and he took money from investors. It was basically like it was not even real accounts, But the guy was a genius in what he did. But anyway, so J.P. Morgan Chase was a custodian for those transactions. So people said, J.P. Morgan, you were responsible because you should have overlooked at these accounts and you should have seen that there was some kind of improper activities going on. So that's why they end up paying about $1.7 billion. And then also a London-based HSBC Holding recently paid about $2 billion to resolve allegations of overseas money laundering activities. So this is why, Olive, before I finish the segment, because as you know, I worked with Merrill Lynch before, and I was a financial advisor. And one of the things I always remembered after I left that industry is like the consumers have really lost faith with our banking system, with Wall Street, because they feel like the game is rigged. So right now, at this moment, Wall Street is once again under scrutiny for high-frequency trading. This is for people that actually trade. So think of it, the big investors, the big companies, they trade like in bulks and within like matter of seconds, and they're ahead of the retail investor. So in this case, the retail investors doesn't get the right pricing, they lose money. So that's why the Wall Street is under scrutiny again for high frequency trading. And once again, the banks keep paying fines for illegal activities or some kind of improper activities that they should have actually overlooked, and they're not doing it. So the game goes on. So, but unfortunately for the consumers, it creates this sort of a mistrust within the current system, the way it's established. So we're basically, we've finished this segment, unless if you have a couple of things to say.
I just have to say, I just realized that I am very happy to be part of this show. It's very educational, Barbara.
Well, as you know, Olive, I put a lot of effort into getting a lot of information for our viewers. And as you know, our Afghan community needs this kind of stuff because we don't have a show like this. I mean, we need to really address these kind of things so that way we actually elevate the community by providing information that they can actually learn from it, and they can actually take that information and utilize it in their daily lives. And that is very important. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we finished our first segment, and we're going to take a little break, but when we come back, we're actually going to introduce our guest, Jeffrey Dish, and he's actually president and owner of Green Escrow Services. I'm sorry. So he's going to come and sit down and talk to us for a few minutes and share his stories and his business. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after taking a quick break. This is the ultimate question for you. Are you ready to be your own boss and achieve your dreams? Liberty Business Advisors of San Francisco, Inc. is a full-service business consulting and brokerage firm specializing in small to medium-sized businesses. At Liberty Business Advisors, our professionals include lawyers, accountants, realtors who have years of experience in selling and marketing business opportunities. Call Business Advisors for free consultation if you're thinking about selling or planning buying a new business. Call us at 925-932-2450. Visit us on our website, lbaweb.com, or follow us on Facebook.
Grandma, we need to have a very important conversation.
About what?
About taking care of you.
You're doing just fine taking care of me.
Grandma, I love you, but this is hard to talk about.
Go ahead. You've always been good with words.
We need a conversation about your end-of-life wishes.
And you're ready to have this conversation now?
Yes, Grandma, before this game is over.
Hi, this is Ice Life. It's never easy having a conversation about end-of-life care. However, it's a conversation you can have in any language, anywhere, anytime. Talk to your loved ones about how they want to be treated at end of life. Find out how much medical treatment they prefer and when they want it to stop. Right now, Comfort Homestake is collaborating with Alameda County to conduct free monthly trainings on how to have the conversation. To register or to get more information, contact the phone number or email on your screen. Thank you.
Gentlemen, welcome back to the show Business Advisors 101. We're actually going into our second segment. We're very happy to have our guest, Mr. Jeffrey Dish, is the president and owner of Green Escrow Services. Mr. Jeff, welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you very much.
We appreciate your time and being here and giving us some of your personal experience and feedback from this business that you're in.
Okay. Well, I've been in the business for a while, Balmar. I've been in the business for about 42 years, mostly in title insurance. But about 5 years ago, I started an independent escrow company in Northern California based in Pleasanton. And we do a lot of business between Walnut Creek and between Contra Costa County and Alameda County. And being an independent, we handle all escrows, whereas title companies handle simply real estate. We handle business escrows. We also handle mobile homes and those types of transactions where title companies don't handle those because there are no title insurance in those types of products.
Mm-hmm. That's good to know. And so you said, if I'm not mistaken, you said you started this company 5 years ago. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So for our viewers, that some of them might be familiar because they have bought homes in the past or they might be in the process of buying a house. What is an escrow company? What are some of the most important things people need to know about an escrow company? Why is it important to have an escrow company involved in a transaction?
Okay, an escrow company is the third independent entity in a sale transaction. You have the buyer and you have the seller, and basically when their instructions come together, you've got the escrow company that's making sure that all of the buyer's needs are taken care of as well as the seller's needs. So we're kind of the holding person, if you will, for the goods. If in fact, if the buyer comes up with the money and the seller comes up with the property and all the terms match, then we simply transfer the property to the buyer and we give the money to the seller. That's simplifying the whole transaction. But with real estate, there's also recording of the documents and such. And in that process, all of the paperwork having to do with the loans, having to do with the funding of the property and the recordation of the documents, that is all part of the escrow process. So we're kind of the control factor in the whole transaction.
Would you say almost like a traffic cop?
Yes, absolutely. We are the traffic manager for the entire transaction.
So in a business transaction, why is it important for a buyer to go through a broker or an escrow company?
A business transaction is quite a bit more complicated than just a simple real estate transaction. In a business transaction, you've got the fact that you've got a buyer that's buying goods, and they're buying goodwill, and they're buying fixtures, and they're buying a lot of different things than just property. The other thing is there is no title insurance, so there is no other way for them to secure the fact that the seller actually is owning or selling what they plan on selling. So we go through a number of different formulas and ways of making sure that the buyer is getting what they're actually purchasing. So the independent escrow company in a business transactions is extremely important right from the time that they start to advertising the fact that the property is for sale and or the business is for sale. Then we go through quite a bit of lengthy details relative to making sure that the seller owns all of the material that they're selling. For instance, if they're selling a restaurant,
Sure.
we want to make sure that all the fixtures and the restaurant furniture and that is unencumbered. A buyer doesn't want to take subject to all of the problems that might be there from the previous seller. So we make sure that the seller is completely cleared of all those things so the buyer knows exactly what they're selling. One of the main reasons why it's very important to have a good business broker is the fact that they really need to have that type of expertise in order to make sure that the transaction goes so smoothly. There's a lot of extra details that a buyer or a seller simply does not know. And in the state of California, the bulk sale law dictates that certain things have to happen in the escrow, and that's what Green Escrow helps facilitate throughout the transaction.
Jeffrey, this brings another question. Do you have any personal experiences where a business transaction went bad because of the buyer either forgot or didn't use the escrow company?
You know, even when there isn't a representative, meaning a good business broker that helps the buyer and the seller, we finally get through it, but it's really kind of a miserable transaction because neither one of them really understand what's involved in handling that transaction. So a deal that might only take maybe 3 or 4 months to transfer takes sometimes a year to a year and a half because they're not represented properly.
Wow.
So going back to rephrasing what you said, so in a business transaction, you have these major components. You have basically a buyer, a seller, a broker like Liberty Business Advisors,
Correct.
and an escrow company like Green Escrow, basically kind of like working together, making sure that the transaction goes smoothly. And what you're saying is basically that it is so important to have this sort of like a traffic cop watching over the transaction, because there's a lot of things that are involved in the business transaction that's different than a retail transaction, meaning, residential transaction, that requires your expertise or a company like yours to be involved in that transaction.
Yes, our job primarily is to make sure all the laws are covered. I mean, you've got the Board of Equalization, State of California. You've also got the Employment Development Department, and all of those things have to be taken into account when you're going to transfer a business from a seller to a buyer. And that is facilitated by a good business broker like Liberty Business Advisors. It's so important. They're really not a broker for the buyer or the seller. What they are super negotiators for the transaction, and that makes our escrow process go so much smoother.
That's a great phrase that you use, being sort of like a negotiator. And as far as we both know, Liberty Business Advisors of San Francisco has been in the business for a long time. They're one of the most well-known commercial real estate companies in the Bay Area, or as well as in the California. And so it is great to know that Liberty Business Advisors of San Francisco has partners like yourself being involved in the process or during the process of this transaction.
Yeah, we've been doing business with them for a good 5 years since we started the company. In fact, we have an escrow officer that speaks the language and is very good in helping them through their process of buying and selling businesses. Anything from a laundry to a liquor license to a gas station. We do a lot of those, a lot of restaurants. It goes all very smoothly.
I was about to ask you, what do you like about partnering with them, but sounds like one of the good reason is because you have somebody speaking Farsi that could really help too, right?
It does help. It does help quite a bit. It's interesting when all of the parties come together in our conference room to sign the documentation. It's good to have an interpreter every now and then that knows exactly what's going on.
What's going on.
And one of our escrow officers is very good at that because he does speak the language.
Well, that's good to know.
That's good to know. So would you say Does an escrow company play a bigger role, perhaps, in the business transaction versus a residential transaction, or it's about the same?
No, it's quite a bit more complicated, simply because there's a lot more involved in transferring a business than there is in just transferring a home. A lot of it, like I say, with a restaurant, there's a liquor license that a lot of times goes with a restaurant, and there's quite a varied activity that goes through just in getting the liquor license processed. And again, a good broker understands that and knows exactly how to save a lot of time. The other thing is you've got leases. You know, you might have a building where the seller is selling the business, but they have to deal with the landlord, okay, when it comes to the leases. Sure. And they have to actually make sure that the lease can be assumed by the new buyer. That's a very critical thing. Nobody wants to buy a business in a location if they find out that they can't assume the lease. And this is another very valuable thing that the business broker handles.
So, if I may, Jeff, would you please perhaps give us a couple examples, like even Olive asked you that question, of situations where perhaps an escrow company was not utilized, or let's say a broker was not utilized, and things went haywire in that transaction?
Well, again, timing is of the essence in a transaction, any kind of a transaction. So when you've got a deal that is put together and all of a sudden it waits more than 3 or 4 months, everything changes in the transaction. The goodwill changes. A lot of times the business is there because the entrepreneur that started the business is the one that's responsible for the good business that's there. And the longer that waits, that all kind of dissipates and goes away. So unfortunately, the ones that aren't represented properly, we end up getting at the end of the deal, and the sales prices are changing, and what they thought they were buying is not what they thought they were getting, and it becomes really kind of a big problem. And a lot of times those deals fail with without the right type of representation.
So, in other words, in these situations where an escrow company was not utilized, or a broker, it might be too late, because by the time the buyer bought the business, let's say perhaps he found out that the business owed some taxes, some other liabilities, workers' comp, or whatever it is. Am I right?
Yes. You're absolutely. When a seller sells a business, they have to make sure that everything is covered properly. Otherwise, the buyer could be subject to all of those problems that the seller might have.
So they're liable for that once they take over?
Well, only if they don't go through the right process, and that's what we make sure, that they go through that right process, so that the buyer is not taking on more than what they realize they're getting when they buy a business.
So the question that I have for you, now I know you've worked with Liberty Business Advisors for a few years, and as you know, you're good friends with Matt Sadati, who's the owner and the CEO of the company. A great man, and basically he has a lot of experience in this business. And plus, we know that he was also, an attorney, but he doesn't really practice it.
Right.
So, why would you say would you recommend a company like Liberty Business Advisors to our viewers? And sort of like, because we want to tell our viewers that the Liberty Business Advisors could be your destination point for business transactions.
Yeah, it really boils down to one thing. They are the professionals when it comes to how to get it done. And in fact, what when they broker a business, people come to them to sell their business, and so they know where the buyers are, and they know exactly how to get it done. And that's so important, like I've said before. And they are professional that way, and they've made a business out of it. They've been doing it. They're well experienced, and that is the key right there.
Well, one of the good reasons I would think that sounds like, once you're ready to take over a business, then you have to feel comfortable and confident that everything is going to be taken care of the right way, right?
Yes, indeed.
It is important.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are planning to reach out to Liberty Business Advisors, you can actually contact my number, which is on the screen, and I'll forward your information to Liberty Business Advisors. But their website is lbaweb.com. Once again, it's lbaweb.com. And if you need more information from Liberty Business Advisors, as I said before, you can reach out to us, or you can go to their website and you can contact them as well. So we've basically come to the final part of this segment. I would like to get some of your closing remarks, and why did you even, I know you're a busy individual, but why do you see being on this show is an important part of what you do? And why is it important to give people the information that they need in order to be a better buyers or a better, in terms of business transactions?
Sure. Well, thank you, Blomar. Our company is relatively new, but I've been in the business quite a bit, and it's something where there isn't a whole lot of escrow companies in Northern California that handle business escrows.
Sure.
There might be, in Contra Costa, there could be easily 30 or 40 title insurance escrow companies, and in Contra Costa, there's only 2 of us that handle business escrows. So it's not like there's a big flood of business that's coming our way, but at the same time, it's a very important part to make sure that that's handled properly. And the state laws relative to business bulk sales are they dictate exactly how it should go, and that keeps everybody in good shape. That ensures the buyer that they're getting exactly what they're buying, and that the seller is not trying to unload a problem, and the brokers in between, they are the ones that are responsible for putting it together successfully. And so it's that type of reason why I started the company 5 years ago, because it was really an underserved market in Northern California.
And underserved, and we actually talk about this in our show a lot, Olive, as you know, about how underserved, like for instance, the Afghan community is when it comes to information like this. And because it's not their fault either, because as media we have sort of failed to address those kind of needs, and that's why this show is like a bridge for that sort of ideas and sort of information that the community deserves. So we're very happy that the fact that you came in and spent a few minutes of your time. And by the way, does the company have a website?
Yes, we do.
If you don't mind sharing that?
Yes, it's www.greenescrow.biz. That's B-I-Z. So you can look us up on the web, and that gives you a lot of good details about what Green Escrow is about. A lot of people ask us why the name is Green.
Yes,
Okay.
So we forgot to. That's a good
My
question.
name is not Green, but the reason it's green is we have a way of eliminating as much paper in a transaction as we can. So at the end of the transaction, we digitize everything. It goes up on our secure website, and we end up giving the people a disc rather than mounds and mounds of paper. So we save a lot of costs on our own by being green that way, and we can actually handle a transaction completely on a computer. The problem is nobody wants to do that yet.
So were you, Olive, we were saying that perhaps maybe next time when you come on the show, maybe we're going to see you in a green jacket. And,
Yeah, right. Well, I thought about it. In fact,
maybe look Irish.
no. And this morning I did have a green shirt on, and I thought I better change it because I figured you'd have a green
Green wall.
That would have been
Yeah.
great. Olive, do you have any final questions?
No questions. Just for our viewers, to save yourself a lot of trouble, go ahead and go through the website that Mr. Jeffrey shared. It is important because, once you sell a business, like you said, and, it might create a lot of problems later. Save yourself some trouble.
Sure. And so once again, I just wanted to confirm, you see Jeff's email address is jeffrey@greenescrow.biz. You can email Jeff. Once again, it's jeffrey@greenescrow.biz. And their website is greenescrow.biz, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
So thank you so much,
Thank you.
Jeffrey, for coming. And hopefully we'll see you soon.
Very good. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we've actually finished this segment, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually take a quick break, and then actually me and Olive, we're going to talk about a few things that happened last week and give you some updates on certain other things. So thank you so much for watching. We'll be right back within 2 minutes. This is the ultimate question for you. Are you ready to be your own boss and achieve your dreams? Liberty Business Advisors of San Francisco, Inc. is a full-service business consulting and brokerage firm specializing in small to medium-sized businesses. At Liberty Business Advisors, our professionals include lawyers, accountants, realtors who have years of experience in selling and marketing business opportunities. Call Business Advisors for free consultation if you're thinking about selling or planning buying a new business. Call us at 925-932-2450. Visit us on our website, lbaweb.com, or follow us on Facebook.
Grandma, we need to have a very important conversation
About what?
about taking care of you.
You're doing just fine taking care of me.
Grandma, I love you, but this is hard to talk about.
Go ahead. You've always been good with words.
We need a conversation about your end-of-life wishes.
And you're ready to have this conversation now?
Yes, Grandma, before this game is over.
Hi, this is Ice Sly. It's never easy having a conversation about end-of-life care. However, it's a conversation you can have in any language, anywhere, anytime. Talk to your loved ones about how they want to be treated at end of life, find out how much medical treatment they prefer, and when they want it to stop. Right now, Comfort Homestake is collaborating with Alameda County to conduct free monthly trainings on how to have the conversation. To register or to get more information, contact the phone number or email on your screen. Thank you.
Dear viewers, as you keep seeing the commercial for the Celebrating Health Fair, I'm just going to give you a little update on that. We had Miss Marilyn a few weeks, or was it last week,
Yeah,
that came to our show and talked about an event that she has. Actually, it's this Wednesday, the 16th. It's going to be held at Kaiser, Oakland. And if you have any more questions, please contact her at 510-303-1099. Again, 510-303-1099. Her event is in Oakland at Kaiser from 1 to 5. And it is an important event to go. It is celebrating health. And there's a conversation that's very important, as she spoke about a few weeks ago, about end-of-life conversation, the importance of having some documents in your file. So that was one of the things that I wanted to share. And
then, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, Marilyn did end up getting a few calls, and she called you back, and she said thank you, but some of the calls were basically people were still confused a little bit. So that's why you mentioned that maybe perhaps, was there anything specifically that Marilyn mentioned that the viewer, people that called, that were confused about? Do you have any?
One of the things that first of all, she thanked our community for all the good response that she got from a lot of people about what is end-of-life conversation about. And people are confused what she was talking about. So basically, there's some documents that we should have in our file in regards to when, for instance, something happens and you go to the emergency room. For instance, you're 90 years old and you go to a hospital and they perform 6 rounds of CPR. And you, if you were healthy enough to make that decision, you would have probably said, I don't want CPR. So those are the documents that we should have while we're healthy and we could make our own decisions. It's a good time. And she has all the documents there. And so it's easy to go there and fill out those forms. And her event is actually
Yeah, please,
fun. Yeah. Her event sounds very interesting. She has some music, and she has appetizers and a lot of other booths. New York Live actually is going to be there. We're going to actually have a segment from there as well. So it sounds like her event would be interesting.
And this event is coming up on April 16 on Wednesday in Oakland at the Kaiser building. And then also there's going to be another event in Fremont at Sujo's Cafe. And what time is that? Between 5 to 7, is that correct?
Actually, that's the one from 9 to 1.
Oh, 9 to 1 in the morning. Okay.
9 to 1 in the morning. So the one in Fremont, and then the one that they have the music and the actual lot of activities going on, and that's where we're going to be. It's going to be 1 to 5 at Kaiser in Oakland.
Great, Olive, and thank you for giving us update on with our last week guest, Marilyn Ababia from the Alameda Hospice program. Now, Olive, as you recall, this week we actually had a chance to meet a very successful Afghan businessman, actually visiting from Herat. His name is Mr. Hamid Najib Zada, and we were actually lucky enough that he was here for like 2-3 days. And we actually went and met him and interviewed him, and actually outside. So
yeah, it was a beautiful house. We have to say thank you to
Khalid John.
Khalid John. I forgot his last name. Baha Khalajan was amazing, great personality, and he let us use his beautiful house. And we sure did interviewed Hamid John, and I was so impressed, I have to say. Being away from our country, from Afghanistan, I didn't know much what was going on that's so positive and interesting. Most of the things you hear on the news, it's I hate to say it's most of the time it's negative, or it's about the all the beautiful music and the singers, which is nice, but sometimes you want to know about what's going on as far as business wise. And I learned so much that there's so many opportunities for men, for women to start a business in Afghanistan, mostly in Herat. And you don't have to leave United States. You could have a business here and there.
Yeah, actually, Olive, Mr. Najib Zada was, as we know, he's the VP, the vice president of this company called Nut and Bolt. A company that's based in Herat, and some of the things that he shared, for instance, there's actually 400 companies or factories in Herat, and they're actually zoned in one area of Herat. And when we actually film this segment, you're gonna actually, hopefully we'll have this segment ready for you by next week, so we'll share the interview with the viewers. But one of the things that I found out that Herat pays taxes. And they're actually the only province, beside maybe in Kabul or whatever, that they pay taxes from their homes, from their business. And the key is they actually provide almost the majority of the tax revenue that comes to Afghanistan, to the finance ministry, comes from Herat. So can you imagine, think of Herat like almost like California, because California generates the most taxes in the United States. So imagine if all of our provinces were like Herat, where they could they could actually develop and generate taxes.
Probably that's the whole idea, starting from Herat, seeing all these videos that Hamid John shared with us. Like you said, it was almost like California. Sometimes when you walk into Home Depot, you think that, wow, everything that you need for a house is here. I was so impressed to see almost everything that you see in Home Depot. Probably it was in Herat as well. Their business seems like pretty successful, and probably eventually it's going to go through other cities, and hopefully everybody pays taxes.
Yeah, and actually, well, I think, the key is like, it's nice to know that sometimes we take our freedom for granted. And this gentleman, Mr. Najib Zada, when he shared, he goes, Barmal, I wish we had the security and the stability so that we can actually even do better. So this gentleman, actually, this is his company, has hired, actually they have about 170 people working for their company. That means they're feeding over 1,000 people, give or take, in that community. So when you feed over 1,000 people, let's say 1,700 or 1,800 people, that has a multiplier effect in the local economy, meaning that basically you're helping the economy. That means that family that's earning, they're going to go spend money, they might go to a restaurant, they might go do shopping. You see where I'm going with this? So, and he said that we could actually do it in a sense where we could jack up prices, but we're not doing that because we know that we don't want to hurt our people. So it was a great story. It was a great segment. And I think.
And one of the questions that I had was how is women's role as far as business in Herat?
Yes.
And he had some positive feedback, so we're not going to give you every little details because we do have the full interview, the question that we ask, so we're not going to repeat ourselves. We're going to just let you be thirsty for the
segment.
The segment, so either next week or the following week we will share.
Sure.
But it was definitely interesting.
So anyway, Olive, as you know, over this past weekend, I want to touch on a subject that was kind of like, over the weekend, we had a big, huge event at the Pleasanton Fairground for Nowruz. I know you were planning to go, but something came and you had to go and couldn't make it. Or was it?
Actually.
Okay, please tell us.
Actually, I was looking forward to it. I was very excited. It was my fault to go there a little bit later than I was hoping. I went around 3:30, But I'm glad that I did went that late because I get to see the people that were waiting outside to get inside the park. I was very excited. I want to congratulate the organizers. They did a beautiful event that, at least they planned it. A lot of people are excited to go. There were some areas that could improve that.
I'll touch on that. Okay. Well, as I said before, we do want to thank the organizers. Because it's never easy. I know we've been involved in events like this, and it takes a lot of efforts for volunteers and stuff like that. So we do commend the volunteers and the organizers for putting their time and effort in putting this project. But here's the problem. Here's the key problem, ladies and gentlemen. This is what actually made me mad and disappointed when I walked at the gates. The entrance gate was a mess. Okay, Olive, and you had about 7,000-8,000 people from what we heard that came into this place. There was only one little single place where people could actually come in. So everybody was converging into this little place to go in with their kids, with the handicaps, with the older people, strollers, and everybody was pushing in. So we were this close of having a stampede, meaning that we could have actually had people getting hurt, and that means that would have been a liability for Pleasanton Fairground and the promoters, and that's not right, Olive.
And as I couldn't get in, so I was looking forward to it, looking forward to hear Abib John, and I hear he did a wonderful job, and I've seen a lot of pictures on Facebook. A lot of people are happy that we're inside, but we're talking about the people that, trying to get in. Some of the, as you said earlier, somebody had their baby inside the car seat. As she was getting in, somebody almost stepped over the baby. Thanks God she was able to grab the baby fast enough. But those are important.
Yeah, well, actually, the point is, Olive, that at the end of the day, it's us respecting our community. When we throw events, it's about these little minor things that we have to consider. We have to respect our people. We can't just focus on marketing and just all about who the musician is and everything. But at the end of the day, it's about the community. We have to, when we throw events, we have to really make sure that our people are safe. We respect them because they come from different places. They come from faraway places. And this is not fair. We're going backwards rather than going forward. How many of these events have we had? I mean, some of the previous events at Pleasanton Fairgrounds were done efficiently and effectively, and that's the key. If we're going to promote and make money on the community, you better service the community. It's about customer service. It's about taking care of the people that come in at the doors and making sure that they're safe, and that's what we expect from our promoters and people, organizers. And we have to learn how many times are we going to go over this? This is not fair. On New Year's Eve, they had an Oriana Saeed concert here. Same situation happened. VIP tickets were sold. But guess what? The seats were already taken. This is not fair. This is not how you do business. Go to a Persian concert. See how they treat their people. So what I'm saying is that go make your money. Go make your money the right way, but treat your people the right way. Respect them. And I'm hoping that the future event that these guys are going to have, they learn from their mistakes and address it, so that way we wouldn't have that circus in the front. There was a few people that almost called the cops, and they could have actually shut down the event.
And it's unfortunate because people get ready, they get excited, they want to go to Nowruz Mela, and to get there, first of all, to wait myself, I waited about an hour. And, from what I was hearing, they were prepared for about 2,000 or 2,500 people. They were not expecting that many people, but from experience we had, you should always be prepared that, a lot of people will show up and be, maybe in the future there'll be more organized.
Yes, Olive, and there's always hope, and I'm just saying, it starts with respecting each other. It's about respecting your community. At the end of the day, they had about 8,000 people. More than likely, they made a lot of money. Good for them. We're happy for them. That's not the problem. That's not the issue. But next time, please, the organizers, make sure you address the situation, because at the end of the day, you guys were lucky that we didn't have a major incident at the gate. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about, because a few people approached me and said, please, Barma John, you have a show. Make sure you address these concerns. And I hope some other shows as well will address this, because this is about fixing the situation. It's not about criticizing those people that put their efforts and spending a lot of time to put those events. So that's basically what this segment is. So Olive, go ahead, please.
Let's change this conversation.
But it was an important conversation, because at the end of the day, this is what the show is about.
Absolutely.
Because it's about doing business the right way.
Exactly. No, we had to address those, those areas. But coming, changing the subject during the week, some of the things that we came around with, me and Barmal were, we went to the business class that it's held by Afghan Coalition, Rona Jan Popal. And, we just wanted to, because we've been talking about them, we wanted to go see, how is it? And what was your experience?
I went there and I stayed there for an hour because I had another meeting I went to, but I was really inspired to see that many, and a lot of the we had a lot of Afghan women there, and they were just basically so eager to learn about the basic concept of how to start a business, the financials and stuff like that.
And the right way.
In the right way.
Just like Jeffrey said, starting a business, you want to do everything right, you want to do everything legal, so later it doesn't create problems for you. And like I've said before, that language, it's not an issue. Even if you don't speak English, right? That's not. That's why we're here. That's why we talk about different areas. That when you start your own business, there are a lot of help available. So it was a good class. Again, we encourage people. The class is full, from what I heard from Rona John, but there's a waiting list for the class.
That's good to know, Olive. So what we'll do is we're gonna actually take a quick break, and then we're gonna come and wrap up the show. And when I wrap the show, all of this time around, actually, I'm gonna share a project that, as you know, I've been working on it for a long time, and it still is in development. So I'm gonna share this project with the viewers, and so we'll be right back. We're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna share that project with you. This is the ultimate question for you. Are you ready to be your own boss and achieve your dreams? Liberty Business Advisors of San Francisco, Inc. is a full-service business consulting and brokerage firm specializing in small to medium-sized businesses. At Liberty Business Advisors, our professionals include lawyers, accountants, realtors who have years of experience in selling and marketing business opportunities. Call Business Advisors for free consultation if you're thinking about selling or planning buying a new business. Call us at 925-932-2450. Visit us on our website, lbaweb.com, or follow us on Facebook. In the final segment, actually, as I said, before I share a project, you want to say a couple of quick things, Olive?
Just to close it up, I'm interested to hear about what you have to say for our viewers. I'm excited about that. But just for next week, we're going to follow up with Sharifa John with House of Couture. And we're going to work with the gentleman named Angus with Crazy Rap Guy. We'll tell you more details next week.
So thank you, Olive. So, ladies and gentlemen, Olive knows about this, so a few of my other friends knows about this. Some of my family members know about this, and this is one of the most special projects that I'm working on, and this is what is going to define me as a person and my legacy in this earth. The key about this is we should never give up on our vision. We should never give up on our dreams. Everybody has a vision. Everybody has a dream. So what I tell you as viewers is there might be some young Afghans watching this show. Look back at your history. Look back at your family albums. Look at your history. Learn something. Go back and ask questions from your grandfather, from your father, from your mother, and ask them how Afghanistan used to be. So this is where I'm going with this, because a few years ago, after the financial crisis, I was in a situation where I had to learn, I had to basically readjust and everything about who I am. So I looked at my family albums and I saw the history. I saw this inspiring man that actually was my father, and I saw his pictures and looming in front of me, and I learned, I said, you know what, I have a legacy, I have a history that I can share with the rest of the community. So that inspired me to work on a project which is called A Captain, a Uniform, a Country. It's the story of Oriana, it's the story of Pan Am, it's the story of what Afghanistan used to be. It's the story of how Afghans used to treat each other and how Afghanistan looked at that time. So you can call it the golden era of Afghanistan, or the golden era of Afghan aviation, where 23 Pan Am technicians come in 1957 after Pan Am and Ariana formed this joint venture. And they start this band of brotherhood with the first wave of Afghan aviators. And now among them, there was a man called Captain Grand. Captain Grand becomes the first Afghan captain and chief pilot from that venture. He becomes first Afghan captain in 1963, and then he becomes a chief pilot in 1965. Some people even call him the father of Ariana Afghan Airlines. So why this story is important? Because this story tells our story. This story tells your story. It's about Afghan identity. It's about what we are. And unfortunately, with all the bad and negative news that we see, all of this positive accomplishments that were in the past has been submerged, and we don't hear about them. What we need from people that are successful companies that are in Afghanistan, from Sophia, you name it, to Ariana Afghan Airlines, to Coca-Cola, or whoever, they need to come and invest in projects like this so we can go actually tell Afghan history about heroes, about people that inspired Afghan people, and their legacies are still intact. So today we're going to share this teaser that we made a couple years ago, and it's about this man that became an ambassador of goodwill for the Afghan people. And this came from a Pan Am Captain Jack Race that actually went to Afghanistan during that time. So before I leave this, finish this segment, I felt like it's time for me to share this project with you. We're still developing it. We're still reaching out to different people to help us with this project. And one day, inshallah, we're going to do this project. And the day we finish this project is not about me. It's not about my family. It's about you. It's about Afghanistan. It's about Afghan identity. And it's about doing something that we should always do, go back to our history and learn from it. So ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to take any more of your time. It's about a 6-minute teaser that we made about 2 years ago, and I hope you enjoyed. The name of this project is called A Captain, a Uniform, Country. Thank you so much. Good night and good evening.
Good night.